friends, I hope you are well. TechManPat here. Today we're checking out the Stream Deck Plus from Elgato. This is a very exciting product combining three things that I thought I'd never see on a little device like this. We've got knobs to turn, we've got a touch screen, and we've got the buttons that you all know from other Stream Deck devices. So let's get started in today's review, and huge thanks to Elgato for sending me this for review. Let's start by rolling the intro. The Stream Deck combining three pretty interesting concepts into one. Let's start with the things you already know and what's different about this device. Well, the buttons up top here, we've got 8 of them. They're much brighter, and that's a huge plus. The screen in the back of these buttons is also much clearer than the previous ones, and that could be because obviously it's a little bit bigger and much easier to see, and the plastic isn't there to sort of concave or affect the actual screen or the monitor in the back of it. The thing I still don't like about it is the buttons. They are a little bit mushy. They're not as clicky as I kind of hoped for that the new one would bring. Now, the screen over here is obviously color. It has a fairly low resolution that you're not really going to notice when you sit far away from it. This little screen is also a touch screen, and it works really well. I like it a lot. It's got a whole bunch of functions, and then we've got the knobs at the back that go left and right, obviously, and they also press in. So combining all this into one package like this, what does that actually allow you to do? Well, of course, on the top here, we've got buttons to load in programs, to load in actions, so hotkeys and things like that, and that's all in the software. And I really want to talk about the software a little bit later on because it is the major differentiator between any other product on the market right now. So what can you do with the touchscreen? Well, it's really there to help you use the knobs at the bottom. The main idea here is that this will give you information of what the knob is doing on the page that you are on. And it depends what page you are on. If you open up something like Premiere Pro, you can assign other things to do, like sliding along your timeline. The beauty is the software allows you to change the profile every time you load up the application. Now, what about the build quality? Well, unfortunately this time around, it has no adjustable base, so it is set to this angle, and if you don't like that angle, you want to get it up a bit higher, you'll have to do that yourself. There is a USB-C plug at the back that kind of sticks out. It's not in the base, which I thought it would have been much nicer to have it just at the bottom of the base, but it's here in the back. So before we get into the price discussion and the software, I want to talk about my use case. So for me, it's all about automating things that I open up all the time. Over here on the left, I've got my editing folder, or the hard drive that I put all my files in. And whenever I plug in the camera to download things, I want to open up that file. So it's much easier for me to click that, open it up, and drag videos back into my editing folder. And the other 3 here below are to open up the programs that I need: Audition, Premiere, and Photoshop. And gosh, it's so good, especially with Windows 11, where the actual start bar is not as friendly as Windows 10 used to be. I find this much easier. At the top over here, I've got some YouTube channels I check out quite often. We've got Casper's Comic channel. If you've watched this channel, you would have seen him on here before. We've got LTT. If I'm bored and want to watch an LTT video, it goes straight to the latest video. And I've got Chilled Beats over here if I ever want to just chill out and listen to some music on my computer. Then if I swipe to the right on the touchscreen, I get other applications. For me, this is my start menu that sits on the left-hand side just above the keyboard. That's my basic standard use case for the section up here. The knobs, on the other hand, are to do things within the programs. When I use Premiere, that is probably the largest use case I have. The fact that I can scrub along the timeline with one of these knobs is perfect. It makes it so much easier to cut video content in and out. And of course, I have a button just there for cutting. So it's all done with the left hand. I don't need to use keyboard shortcuts that if you have not used Premiere before, it's actually Control K to cut, which is very far. And furthermore, there is another use case which I found really kind of fun, and that's Photoshop. If I want to swipe along edits, I've actually adjusted the knob to be the Control Z and Control Shift Z, which does a redo, and of course that means I can go left and right and watch all my edits flow around back and forth. which in Photoshop is actually really useful, and I didn't realize how many times I'm tapping Control Z, if I can just flick it, go back and find the right place, or just see what the difference is with my edit or without it, without having to use my fingers, and I can just use the knob. It's great. Now, how much time does this actually save me? Maybe a couple of seconds here and there, but it is a little bit more comfortable, and honestly, it's kind of fun to use. Now, what's the context if you're not me and you are looking to use this for other things? Of course, if you have Elgato's lighting set up, you can control the lights and the color of the lights, the hue and things like that. And of course, if you've got other system from Elgato, you can control it through here. And then people put things like GIFs in there just to be funny. I did find a little bug that if I put a 5th GIF in here, it crashed the whole software. So what's the best use case? Well, it is for a streamer. They are purely designing these for streamers. Why? Well, first of all, knobs up here will be your audio inputs. You'll have your game, your voice, maybe your desktop sound if you're playing music in the background, and maybe if you're interviewing somebody or speaking with somebody, you'll have their voice up here so you can adjust the levels on the fly. The buttons up here will be used to change scenes, and of course, you can swipe to the left and right to get more buttons to do more actions. When you're in a game, you can have some of these to do things like record or stop recording. I don't think a streamer is going to need more than 2 or 3 pages when they swipe across, because at first I thought this would be for maybe a audio production studio or something like that. I don't think it's going to be the only thing an audio production studio would use. They might have this in conjunction with other very large table setups. It is probably enough for a streamer. If you're doing something with audio or mixing audio, this is probably not for you. So let's talk about software, because one of the hardest things about this is actually setting it all up. A couple of years ago when I bought my original Stream Deck, I found it hard. I had to Google icons, I had to figure out how to do it all. Today, Elgato has a massive marketplace for free that you can load onto here. And companies, and obviously even individuals, have started making profile packs for this. The absolute amount of support that this Stream Deck has makes this hardware the best hardware you can buy. Now, I can pull up all these icons without having to go download things. I've got actions that are pre-created and also even ideas of how to use it, all on the Elgato marketplace that you can download for free. Without the software, this wouldn't be as good, and that is the value of Elgato. The software has integrations with things like Philip Hue. It can bring through stock prices from Yahoo Stocks. It has a whole bunch of things that I never thought I would want on one of these screens. And so that means when you do decide to sit down and create your profiles, you're actually going to be building upon them as you find new use cases. You only have to start with a very small amount, so don't expect to load everything up at once. You'll load up a few programs, then you'll create a new profile for each program as you go, and you'll put in your workflow into here. It becomes a bit of a painting that you keep adding to, creating a very flexible workflow that you start to remember off by heart as you add the parts to it. So when you pay $335 for this device, you are paying for all that support that comes along with this hardware. Well, is it a good price? Well, if you've already got a Stream Deck, probably not. But if it's your first one, I think this is the one you want to go with. That is the beauty of this. It has multi-functionality, plus that screen right here can show other details about your computer, maybe temperature and things like that. So friends, thank you very much for watching this video. Highly recommend it. If it's your first Stream Deck that you want to buy, the Plus is probably the one you should go for. And at the end of the day, it also depends on your budget and what you actually need it for. But I think this is a very good addition to anybody who does any sort of game streaming or any content creation like video editing. I think it's a great addition to your workflow. Thank you very much for watching. Big thanks to Elgato for sending me this for review. I'll catch you all in another video. Bye!